Oh, no, go ahead.
Someone brought up the Titanic example, and that's one that comes up a lot on here.
I think that was Lucas, yeah.
I know some guys, they're like, well, it's, and I want to ask them, the ones that don't think it's fair, what would you have gotten in the lifeboat? And many of them would probably be like, yeah, why not? And then I want to ask, well, what if your kids were on shore and they were going to hear the story later, and then there was going to be a movie made, and you're being depicted in the movie. Now you live on. It's like, would you die for that? Well,
what's your answer to that? Would you get on the lifeboat? Try to get on the lifeboat,
no.
Or would you stay with the sinking?
No, but
ship?
Everyone's probably going to say that. But no, I think because it's as unfair as it is. It's the same reason you'd be storming a beach or whatnot, or drafted.
Well, this is where I diverge a bit from you, Warren. I mean, so my own personal decision, if I was on the Titanic, and this is, of course, assuming, like, I have an option to choose to go on it, like, there's not, like, other men who are basically like, nope, stay back. Even then, I'm like, I'm fucking fighting to get on that shit. I don't care.
So the guy in the movie, you would do that?
Was there? It's been a minute since I've seen Titanic.
He grabs the kid so he can get on the lifeboat and save himself.
If there's no repercussions, I will. If there's the most innocent baby, I'm gonna punt the baby and take the seat. No, I mean I'm about self-preservation. Obviously, there's limits. Like there's certain things I suppose I wouldn't do to, like, if it comes at like, well, it's kind of like that question. Would you annihilate everybody else to save your family, your wife, and your children? That's a difficult. I probably would. Actually, wait, hold on. Let me think about that. That might sound really bad.
I was just going to say, so you would kill the entire human race.
Yeah. So, okay, the question is, would I get on the life preserver on the Titanic?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But it's like an honorability thing. Like, would you want to be the guy who jumped on the lifeboat while someone else died? Like, you would have to be that for the rest of your life. The guys in the Titanic movie, like the ones that are
guilt.
ones
I can do. You know what's better than guilt? Still being alive.
The guys that are depicted in the movie on the Titanic that are jumping on the lifeboat, now over 100 years later, there's dudes clowning them to this day because they're the guy that jumped on the lifeboat.
Fucking let them
If you don't
clown.
mind that, that's up to you. If you don't mind living with that, if you don't mind that being your legacy, then that's cool.
What's the point of being alive then?
Legacy. Well, I suppose I'm in a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. Fuck yeah. I don't know. I mean,
you're gonna go back and rewatch the movie and be like, oh shit,
I don't know. Did they look bad? Did they look bad?
Really bad.
Really bad. They look really bad.
None of them say a word to him.
Yeah. Oh, I would fucking sit there like
he just sits there
fuck
like
you. I would be double finger like, oh yeah. But to be fair, this is like a totally different like social order back then, where there were more traditional expectations. Like now, if there's a fuck, I'm sitting across like, but the girl sitting across from me on the lifeboat judging me, she's a actress, and she's like, you're not upholding your traditional male standards. I'm like,
well, neither.
You're literally a dude, I don't care.
Okay, but shouldn't you be the change that you want to see in the world?
What's the change that I want to see in the world?
What is it? Do you tell me? Do you want the world to be back like it was more?
Sorry, go ahead.
More like it was during the Titanic times when the women on the boat were like chaste, modest women, and the man is like super masculine. Like, yes, I'm gonna save this women and not jump on the boat.
Yeah, are women holding up their end of the bargain on that? But I'll answer your question. But are women holding up their end of the bargain on that?
In what, like the imaginary world?
Yeah, currently.
Currently,
you
no.
said, women are chaste and blah, blah, blah.
No, that's not the case currently. That's like in the imaginary world.
But we'd have to analyze at the individual level as well.
Yeah, sure.
It's a generalization.
Well, and also, just because women reject their traditional gender roles, it doesn't necessarily mean men must also reject theirs. But I reject the disposability of males. So I think, I'm against it. That's the only way I can answer your question. I don't think men should like die for strangers, basically. I think there's an argument to be made. Should men die for like their family, their children, maybe their wife, but if there's a war,
and let's say there's a repeat of D-Day, if we don't go, who will them?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit pedantic here. I think the United States' involvement in World War II is a bit overstated. Like Russia would have wiped the floor with Germany, but that's another conversation.
There's no wrong answer. It's a really fascinating experiment.
It's difficult because, I mean, my position on war is I find most wars, even many of historical wars, like just kind of pointless. World War II, there is a like more stronger ethical, moral argument there. World War I, kind of totally pointless. Some Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, and that had like a cascading effect where like all these like European powers gone. Anyways, Vietnam was stupid. I feel no like national duty or pride to like go bomb like Southeast Asians. That was kind of ridiculous.
If Russia invaded us tomorrow,
like a defensive war,
and they had to enact a draft, should they be drafted?
Should women?
Would you want them running around with guns? No offense.
The Dutch woman, yes, she can.
Yeah. I feel like you could handle yourself. No, I shouldn't have said it like that. But I'm just.
I mean, the thing is,
You're good. I don't want to be in the war.
While I do consider myself more conservative, I have some divergences insofar as I consider myself like a male advocate. Some people call this like men's rights advocacy. So I put that beyond like conservative positions because conservatives and feminists are actually similar in a lot of ways. But
what do you mean?
In how conservatives and feminists are similar? So I think, well, it depends what brand of feminism we're kind of looking at, but I think like there's a component of feminist movement that looks towards men's agency to like, but there's a blame that goes on, like it's men's fault, men need to fix it, whereas conservatives won't put a blame on men, but they'll still say like agency falls on men need to be the ones like fixing problems and like being responsible in like leadership positions in like wartime and being soldiers and so forth.
I get you. I just don't think it comes from. I think it comes from the fabric of reality. It's not coming necessarily from society. It looks like that. It's an unfair aspect that is baked within the fabric of reality itself, and it has always existed.
So, but I don't know. Like, there's probably definitely been historical wars, probably like smaller scale conflicts where it was just like. There's a belligerent, an aggressor who's like, we're going to conquer your land. And then like the people, the soldiers in the defensive position there, I think there's like good argument to be made that these men should step up for the defense of their land. And by extension, like historically, there are a lot of like war crimes committed towards women, like essay, rape, and for example, so like probably, a cohort of men in these societies don't want to see their women, either their wives or just their country women, I guess, getting raped. And then they just want to, and then if they do lose the war, the men are going to get killed anyway. So it's like, that's kind of compelling. But like, would I want to like, if it was the late 1960s, early 1970s, would I want to get shipped off to Vietnam? No. Yeah. And I wouldn't feel like patriotic if I went to like Vietnam and just, I don't know, that specific war. I wouldn't have seen the purpose, but
for sure. I agree with that.
There might have been a more noble cause like in World War II. Anyways, I feel like I'm just kind of avoiding. No, you're fine. So I don't know if I even answered your question though. I think I was just yapping.
We can follow. I'm intrigued in the difference between the comparison of conservatives and feminists.
And how they're similar?
Yeah.
I think the best way, they're obviously not the same, but there are a lot of similarities. I mean, maybe you've heard of the, what's it called? The horseshoe? What's that called? Horseshoe theory? Where like the political spectrum, like as I could be misstating this, as you get to some of the extremes of like the left or the right, they tend to have like a lot of similarities actually. I'm not a like political guy, so I'm probably butchering that explanation. But maybe to bring it back to your point, weren't you asking something on this?
About
or am
the
I
draft?
just going?
About draft or what?
Lost my train of thought. Yeah.
It initially started with her asking if you wanted to be the change you want in the
Oh
world.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think when it comes to the Titanic specifically, I would have no objections. Men opting to try to self-preserve their life. Like I would if it's like, oh, there's a woman, I'm going to give my seat on the life draft for a woman.
For a stranger as well. It's like
it's
logic.
Yeah. It's less that she's a woman. It's like I would also not give it to another man too. But there would be a social like pressure component of like women and children first. So if I could opt to take the seat over a woman, I would.
I guess it just comes down to how you want people to see you, how you want others to see you, and like down in history, do you want to be seen as the guy who saved himself? And as a result of that, there was women and children.
Freedom. Bro, look, I don't care. Like I'm dead. I'm not gonna. Like I don't think you should be a piece of shit while you're alive. But I think that it's fine to like want to self-preserve. Here's my position that will probably piss off the whole panel. If there's, I think let's say I'm with my girlfriend or wife or whatever, and one of us has to die, she can die. Like there's a bullet, and hypothetical bullet, right? One of us has to take the bullet, she can take the bullet.
You would have to live with that for the rest of your life, though. You know what I'm saying? Like
hypothetical way.
If you don't care about that, I guess that's your life. But for some people, they just could not live with that. Like my wife died.
What?
My wife died and I'm still alive. My child died and I'm still alive. Like I'm still in this world. I still have the audacity to like go and live my life and like stuff like that. But the people who I love most in my life, who I made a commitment to like that, they died at the to save me, and I'm still alive. If
so
you're fine with living with that,
I would have bad feelings.
Do you have a kid?
No.
It's not about feelings exactly. It's also how people who know you see you. You're like a public figure. It's how everyone would see you, how you would go down in your history.
Well, I think it's actually, I'll go down in history as being incredibly honest, because most people would virtue signal on this point, but when they're in the actual heat of the moment, and like a lot of people would virtue say, oh yeah, I would sacrifice my life for my girlfriend or wife or whatever. I think most men are actually honest when they say that, but there's probably a cohort of men who will virtue signal and say, yeah, I'd be willing to sacrifice my life for my girlfriend. But like, for example, Andrew Tate, he says, oh, it's my duty. The reason that I get to have this traditional dynamic with women where they're like doing all the XYZ things for me and I'm going to be dominant, they're going to be submissive, is because I'm going to be willing to protect her. And if that means potentially dying for her, then that's why the woman should be submissive. That's one. He probably has other arguments too. I actually don't believe him. Andrew Tate has multiple women. Like he's a unidirectional they're all exclusive to him, but he sees multiple women, right? I'm confident that he would sacrifice any of his women to continue living. Like it's a total virtue signal.
Maybe not his favorite one.
Did I say Andrew Wilson?
No, you said Andrew. No,
I said Andrew Tate. Okay. Yes, Andrew Tate would not sacrifice his life for one of his many girlfriends. So
he claims it's his job to protect. Therefore, in order to protect, that requires the authority to protect. I'm not saying I agree with them.
Yeah.
But do you plan to have multiple girls or just one?
No, but I'm saying that what I am saying is that I think I would believe a majority of men who say they'd be willing to die for their wife in this sort of hypothetical scenario. But I think there is a cohort of men who will virtue signal and lie about it. For sure. But they wouldn't. I'm just willing to say, no, I would not be willing to take a bullet for my wife or girlfriend.
But there's also men who say that and they actually mean it. And don't you think it would make your girl want to be more submissive to you if she knew that you would take your...
So you're saying I should lie?
No, not lie. Actually mean it.
Oh, so just change my worldview.
Want to die.
Yeah, but I'm just not. Because like I'm just not. Why?
Well, one day you might have a kid, and I've experienced this.
Sure.
And when you have a kid, it changes, and you will, and suddenly you'll feel that, and you're like, whoa, I would give myself for someone else.
Yeah. So to be clear, like for a child, yes.
Separation.
For the child, yes.
So it's
wife, nah.
What if she's pregnant?
Huh?
What if she's pregnant?
Oh, we're gonna get into a fucking abortion now. Nah.
You wouldn't save her life if she's, because that's your child too. You know what I'm saying?
It makes it more complicated. How far along is she?
Oh God, she's 8 months.
You conceive the child.
A life is a life, no matter what part in the womb.
What's that?
A life is a human life.
Well, it starts at conception. I agree with that, but I suppose it would have like some.
She's 2 days pregnant.
Oh yeah, she can take the bullet.
4 months. Where does it start where now it's like, okay, this is my child?
I'm not saying it's, so I'm going to go ahead for the sake of, I'm going to go ahead and grant that life begins at conception. So
Yes.
she literally, the sperm implants or whatever the fuck, she can, still take the bullet from that point on.
At what point does that change?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Where do you draw the line?
Just to be clear, that I'm not making or taking a position on abortion by saying this, but like the head's popping out, like, and the doctor just goes crazy. He's like, I'm gonna fucking stab your baby. I'll be like, ugh, and just jump in front of the knife or some shit. I don't know. Some crazy chicks in the fucking operating room with us. I don't know.
But you were
your baby.
You were saying in the future though, if you had a kid and it was you or the kid who had to die, would you die for your child?
Yeah, for my kid, yes.
Just not for your wife.
Yeah, because I could just get another wife.
Okay.
Just not for your pregnant wife who's pregnant with your twin sons.
Twin sons?
Twin sons.
Twin sons.
Oh gosh.
Triplets.
Ah, man.
She's
It's
really
hard.
plain.
It's hard. I don't know. I would do as much as I can. This is like the Jordan Peterson cop-out. I would do as much as I could to not be in that situation.
I would never be in that situation.
I've made so many mistakes.
By that point.
So many mistakes. I would just, do everything in my power to not be in that position.